Hello, financial success students. Welcome to another day. We are hitting the home stretch, second to last week at the time of this taping. And since we're getting close to the end of most of your junior year, we should start thinking about what you're going to do after school is over, after high school, not just this year. When you graduate from high school, and hopefully next year's graduation will be more of a normal graduation compared to what's going on this year. And so some of you will go on to college. Some of you will go on to two-year college at the technical school of your choice, like MATC or Madison College or something like that. So whatever it happens to be, there's a number of things you have to think about cost-wise. Here's your question of the day, question of the week. What is it? Whatever you want to call it today. It's on your Google Doc. What are the 6 categories of costs when it comes to going to college? I want you to make a prediction first. I'm going to write down a prediction. And then we'll jot down the true answers and see how they match and how it applies to you today. Take a moment, pause this. All right, our 6 categories of costs. I'd much rather do this in class when you have a chance to work with somebody in your pod and we get a chance to discuss. It's always more fun to predict. I love game show type things. So here we go. Our 6 categories of costs. The first one would happen to be, oh, we're going to start my timer so I know where I'm at, lesson-wise. All right. Tuition and fees, that's pretty obvious, right? Okay, price you pay for taking your classes, and it's going to, possibly depend on the academic program that you're at. For example, my kids went to UW-Madison. There was the normal costs of their program, which was $5,280 per semester. Then when my son got into the business school, there was an additional $500 charge per semester. It makes a difference if you're going in-state or out-of-state as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later on. Room and board is the next thing, number 2. Colleges offer dorm-style campuses in some cases. Once in a while, a college will require you to live on campus for a while, such as La Crosse, I think, requires a 1-year college dorm commitment. Unless you already live there in the city, then they can waive that. Other places, they recommend you do that, but you may find that maybe that's not what you want to do, and you want to get together with some roommates or some other friends that you have and move off campus. Either way, room and board is the food and the drinks and the place that you're sleeping at each day. And you want to be researching that as well, the choices for on-campus and off-campus. Both my kids did on-campus the first year, and it was very nice because they get the lay of the land a little bit. Most things were taken care of, and then they could meet some new friends and form some new relationships and get a chance to figure out what they want to do, year 2 and 3. My daughter went off campus right away year 2. My son did not. He liked the option of having meals there at campus, not having to do any cleaning, not having to do any cooking. So he liked that for a while. But that's going to make a difference in your costs. Books and supplies. Most colleges require you to buy books. My daughter was pretty creative in renting books and buying them from former students. And there's lots of websites to do that. I think Chegg is one of them, Chegg. And a few colleges, I think Stevens Point and Eau Claire, still allow you to rent those books, which could be a cost savings as well. But you can see, pretty hefty in regard to some of the college costs that possibly would be there. Your personal expenses would be another category. Your laundry, your cell phone, eating out, and so forth. Anything that you might normally spend on. Oh, where's my water bottle? Sorry about that. So we're going to figure out that in your monthly budget. And then there's transportation. If you're living off campus, want to get back and forth to home. Want to get home to visit your family once in a while. Or if you're living like when my kids were in Madison, they had their bus passes were paid for on campus. But if they wanted to go someplace out to the mall or a shopping center, they have to figure that out bus-wise or taxi-wise or Uber-wise. So that's something you have to think about. So those are the 5. Well, wait a minute. That's 5 categories. I wanted 6. Oh, there's one that's not there yet. So what's the missing one? What do you think the missing one is? The missing one is not working is a cost of going to college. What? It's something that economists call an opportunity cost. When you choose to do something, you choose not to do something else, or what's called the next best alternative. So if you go to school, what can't you do besides sleeping in? But you can't work. Okay? Not working is the actual cost of college. If you're sitting in your college classes for 40 hours a week, for example, those are 40 hours you could have been working, making money. And the average high school person makes on average if they don't go to school? They make roughly $17,000 a year. So that's another cost when it comes to going to college. And you go to college for 4 years, that comes out to be $68,000. Okay, that's a pretty hefty cost. Okay, so but I don't want you going to your parents now and saying, "Oh, I saw the light, Mr. Briggs. Help me realize I'm not going to school. I'm going to save $68,000." Because there is the cost-benefit analysis, especially at a two-year school, in which you look at this breakdown here of unemployment rates and median weekly earnings. This was, of course, published before the pandemic. What you can see in regard to unemployment rates on the left side here in the blue, if you don't have a high school diploma, you have the highest unemployment rate of any age group, of any education group. Generally, as you get more education, as I like to say, you have a better chance at having a job because you make yourself more valuable to your employers. Okay, I love my McDonald's workers, but anybody can do that job. Okay, college grad, master's degree, doctorate degree, high school person, and so you don't set yourself apart from the crowd, and so they can choose anyone. Okay, and you can see on the right side in green what the weekly median income, kind of the average of what people make per week. Okay, so you can see the numbers, and this is statistics. So you have more education, you're going to make more money generally. Okay, there's always exceptions to the rule, but that's on average. So how are we going to go about paying for this college? College can be expensive. Private school versus public school, and I've got a couple good videos here in a moment to kind of break that down a little bit. So students and parents usually kind of share those costs. It's not just all you, not just all them. Everybody's family situation is different, of course. But roughly a third comes up from scholarships and grants. We just every year our school gives away almost $100,000 in scholarships and grants from various places, and hopefully you apply for those next year. Relatives and friends kick in a little bit. My kids' grandparents gave a little bit of money towards my kids' college education, which was very helpful. About a quarter of it came from my wife and myself. Actually, it was about half. Okay, they took out some student loans from the government, and some parents will borrow. I did not borrow because I've been saving for a long time, and students will borrow as well. My kids did a little work before and during college, and then they also have some borrowing going on as well. Okay, you can kind of see the average cost of going to school per year based on geography here in regard to different parts of the country. Midwest, second highest, and Northeast part of the country is the most spent in regard to where they're paying for things. Okay, what else here I wanted to share with you? Give you a chance to look at that. Then, okay, we have to talk about actually going ahead and going to school here. And we'll talk about that more here in a moment. I'm going to play you something here from a program called LifeSmarts. Okay, and that's going to give you a nice little overview of what we're going to continue to talk about next when it comes to paying for college. So check this out. It's called The Consumer Man Show. Here we go.
So, you plan to go to college after you graduate high school. Great. But what if the cost of that education is more than you or your family can afford? A loan is one option, but a scholarship sure is nice. It's free money that doesn't have to be paid back. You might qualify for a scholarship or two, but you've got to know where to look and how to spot the scholarship scams, because there are a lot of them out there. I'm Herb Weisbaum, and this is The Consumer Man Show on lifesmarts.org.
The Consumer Man Show is brought to you by the good folks at Credit.com. Credit.com, a place to comparison shop for credit cards and get your credit score absolutely free every 30 days, plus expert advice on a variety of financial topics. Now, here's America's consumer expert and the national quizmaster for LifeSmarts, the Consumer Man, Herb Weisbaum.
Let's talk about scholarship scams. A lot of kids can't afford to continue their education after high school without some financial help. So an ad that promises scholarship money can be mighty tempting. Be careful. It could be a trap set by scammers who want to get your money and give you nothing in return. According to the website FinAid, victims lose more than $100 million a year to scholarship scams. Mark Kantrowitz is a nationally recognized expert on student financial aid. He founded FinAid and is now the publisher of Advisors Network. Mark, why are there so many scholarship scams out there?
Anytime you're desperate to pay for college, there are going to be organizations and individuals who try to take advantage of you. So you need to be careful, especially if someone's asking you for any kind of money.
Let's run down some of the warning signs. First of all, application fees. Should you have to pay an application fee to get a scholarship?
If you have to pay money to get money, it's probably a scam. Scholarships are about giving away money, not getting money. So if the scholarship charges you an application fee, be wary.
Some of these services claim they can guarantee that you're going to get a scholarship. Can any legitimate scholarship sponsor guarantee you're going to get the award?
No scholarship sponsor is going to say that they guarantee that you're going to win the scholarship because they haven't reviewed your application. Most such guarantees are for scholarship matching services, and they're on their face fraudulent because they don't control who receives the scholarship. Oftentimes, a guarantee will have hidden catches that will make it almost impossible to fulfill the terms of that guarantee, or they may be counting on the fact that most people don't follow up on a guarantee.
Another sign of a scam is a scholarship program that says everyone is eligible. Mark, why is that a tip-off to a rip-off?
Scholarships have far more applications than they have funds available to award. So if they try to suggest that everybody is eligible for their scholarship, or they have very loose selection criteria, it may be a sign that they're after your money or your contact information and not after awarding you money to help you pay for school.
What about these ads that claim that there are billions of dollars in unclaimed financial aid floating around, real easy to get your hands on? Any truth to that?
It's a 30-year-old myth. The reality is that the only aid that goes unclaimed can't be claimed. There's a scholarship at Loyola University of Chicago called the ZOLP Scholarship. It's for someone whose last name on their birth certificate and christening certificate is ZOLP. You can't change your name to qualify. Most years they have one or two students receiving the award. Some years they have none.
So there's no secret stash of scholarship money floating around. The scholarships that are available tend to be awarded.
The only scholarships that are never awarded are ones that have such restrictive selection criteria that nobody will qualify. The availability of free scholarship matching services makes it very easy for students to find the scholarships for which they're eligible. The scholarship providers get more applications than they have funds available. No money ever goes unclaimed.
While most scholarship scams are trying to get your money, some of them are also trying to get your personal information. So you really need to be careful what information you give out, right, Mark?
Absolutely. Never give out your Social Security number, bank account number, credit card number. They are either going to lay you open to identity theft, or let's say that you give out your bank account number. You think, oh, they can't get your money. With just your bank account number, they can empty your bank account of all its money. It's called a demand draft, works just like a check, but there's no signature on it. It's not required. There have been several scholarship scams that got bank account numbers from students, and the students found that money had been taken out without their permission.
Mark, let's give the kids some practical information. How do they go about finding out what scholarship money may be available to them by using trusted, reliable sources?
There are several free scholarship matching services available online. StudentScholarshipSearch.com, FastWeb.com. The College Board has a scholarship matching service. There are several of these services available. They don't require payment of any fees. They match your background against a database of scholarships, and they give you information about those scholarships, including links to the scholarship provider's website or application forms. It's then up to you to submit the application and hopefully win.
Does it do any good to talk to your high school guidance counselor? Can they help you with this at all?
Absolutely. Your guidance counselor, your local college's financial aid administrator, they are great resources. And if you receive a solicitation in the mail that your first instinct is that it's too good to be true, you're probably right. But if you have questions, ask the local guidance counselor, college financial aid administrator for their opinion, and they'll steer you in the correct direction.
Mark, thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Fast Fact.
The cost of college or technical school is through the roof, and it keeps going up. Right now, the average cost of tuition, room, and board for 1 year at college is about $22,000. Of course, it can be much more at a top-notch university. No wonder so many families are looking for financial help.
You don't have to be a straight A student or star high school athlete to qualify for a scholarship. Some are based on merit, others based on need. There are even scholarships for members of various minority groups. Just remember the rules. Avoid any offer that asks you for money. You never have to pay to apply for a scholarship. Say no to anyone who contacts you and claims that you're pre-qualified for a scholarship. It just doesn't work that way. If you do a search online, use these popular and trusted scholarship services: FastWeb, FinAid, and CollegeNet. They'll help you locate available scholarships for free. Well, that's it for this edition of the Consumer Man Show. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll share this with your friends. You can find me, Herb Weisbaum, online 24/7 at consumerman.com. And don't forget to join the competition and use the free study resources at lifesmarts.org.
The Consumer Man Show is brought to you by the good folks at Credit.com, a place to comparison shop for credit cards and get your credit score absolutely free every 30 days, plus expert advice on a variety of financial topics. This is LifeSmarts.org. LifeSmarts.org, a service of the National Consumers League. LifeSmarts. Learn it, live it.
Another place to get your credit score, of course, is Credit Karma. I've got this cat in my lap that I'm trying to work, but hair keeps coming in everywhere. So they mentioned that FAFSA, we'll get a little more into FAFSA here in a minute, and so just getting ready for school, you need to start thinking about, well, saving, and hopefully at this point you've been saving some, or your family's been saving some. You're looking at scholarships, as they mentioned in that, and some state aid. Okay, so how we go about doing that is something called the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA. Okay, and it's generally something that we fill out. The first due date is October. Okay. And when you complete it, you'll need some different information, okay, for your personal information and your parents and yourselves, tax information. And it's easy to do. It takes about probably about an hour the very first time. But then every year you've got to fill it out again that you're going to need financial aid. And after the first time, it only takes about 20 minutes because they've got your information from the first time around and just change some numbers. Okay, so let me show you a very short introduction video about the FAFSA.
Getting ready to go to college? The Free Application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA, is for you. It's what the federal government and colleges use to figure out your eligibility for financial aid. That's money for school in the form of grants, work study, student loans, and even some scholarships. If you plan to attend college in the fall, it's usually best to file your FAFSA in October or November, the year before you start. Check with the financial aid offices of the schools where you're applying to see when their priority filing deadlines are. If you miss your school's deadline, don't worry. Just file as soon as you can. But be aware that most schools have a limited amount of funds to award each year, and the earlier you submit your FAFSA, the better chance you have of receiving aid. You can fill out your FAFSA online at fafsa.gov. Be sure to get the URL right. Filing is free, but some shady scammers will try to trick you into paying to file. It'll probably take you less than an hour to complete your FAFSA. If you're a dependent student, you'll need both your and your parents' tax and W-2 forms from 2 years prior. For example, if you're filling out the 2017-18 FAFSA, you would use your 2015 taxes, 2016 taxes for the 2018-19 FAFSA, and so on. If you're independent, you'll only need to provide your own. You'll also need bank and investment statements, plus your Social Security card, driver's license, or proof of permanent residency. Got questions? FAFSA.gov offers helpful resources such as live online chat, phone agents, and email support. When you're ready, go to FAFSA.gov to submit your FAFSA. Your future awaits. Still have questions? Visit StepUpUtah.com.
A lot of places to get information for yourself in regard to this. Okay, that's just one place to start. We'll show you some other things here in a moment. There's different types of federal student aid because when you fill out that FAFSA, you're going to get something called a SAR. Okay? A SAR is a student aid report, which is going to summarize the information that was in your FAFSA. And then you review that and make corrections, and that's what the school kind of uses to determine what kind of aid you'll be eligible for. The aid that schools will give out are these three types of things. There's grants. The grants are great because you don't have to repay that. The dollar got a couple different grants. And that was nice, just free money. And then there's loans, okay, and there's two types of loans. There's private loans, there's actually three types. There's private loans, and those are the ones we want to try to avoid. Okay, private loans have the least advantages for you. Usually when you take them out, you have to pay back right away as you have the money out. Then there's government loans, and those are broken down to two parts. And I'll show you a little more of that here in a moment. But government loans are nice because you don't have to start repaying those back until after you finish school, 6 months after you finish school. So there's a grace period there, which is nice. And then there's the opportunity for what they call work study, in which you'll get at least a minimum wage job that will allow you to make some money. Okay, so the award will come from a combination of these three types of things. Okay, and so this is, for example, my daughter's from last year. Okay, so what the expected cost for her year was going to be $26,000. Okay, for school. Okay, the roughly $5,200 a semester in tuition, another $4,000 or $5,000 a semester in the other costs we went over in the other categories. All told, they figure cost of going to school, the COA they call it, okay, $26,003.60. And they expect me as a family, this is after we filled out the FAFSA, this is the SAR report, they expect me and my wife to come up with $12,000. Okay, so her estimated need is the difference there, $14,000, and the total age she was eligible for is $11,750. And the other part she'd have to make up, doing a job or from her savings and whatnot. So she'll get this letter after the SAR. She'll get an award letter. This is what the award letter she last received. Okay, and so she received some scholarships. Okay, free money she was awarded. She was a valedictorian in her class. So she was given the state's $9,000 award that's spread out over 4 years, and so she was offered $2,250, and in that. Then she received some grants from Madison. Sometimes you can kind of play the other colleges off each other, like you learned during the what was the guy's name that we went to the program that we had for 6 weeks as you get ready for those tests. Can't think of it offhand right now for the ACTs and so forth. She got some grants from Madison, free money, $3,000 just free money. Okay. Then she was given the opportunity for some loans from the government. So we are okay with these loans. The two types of loans are what they call unsubsidized and subsidized. Now the difference is the subsidized, you don't have to pay any interest on those loans until after she's done with school, 6 months afterwards. So it's like a free loan, okay, during the course of while you're in school. The unsubsidized loans mean that you get the loan, you don't have to pay it back until after you're done with college, but interest on the loan will start to accumulate. So the $2,000 is what she's being offered. But by the time she's done with school, it might be $2,200 or $2,300 that she has to pay back. Because interest accumulates. For this $4,500, that's all it is, $4,500. Okay. Only after you're done with school does that start to increase some interest. So if at all possible, you want subsidized federal loans if you need to take any. Okay, so when you think about college costs, you have to think about what's called the sticker price, what their cost online is for the overall college experience. That's that $25,000 I showed you before from Madison, UW-Madison. And then that's the sticker price. But by the time you take grants and scholarships into effect and into account, you get what they call the net price. Her net price was cheaper. Okay, so when you're searching for scholarships, as they mentioned with Consumer Man, you type in scholarships in college. Look what I got as a hit. 23.9 million results. Oh, yeah. Hard to think about going through all that. And so those are some of the trusted scholarship matching services that they had mentioned. Before I go any farther, though, I wanted to give you some other opportunities for places that might offer you some free money. Okay, I know some of the different schools in Wisconsin are offering programs such as this. This is one that UW-Madison came out with last year. I want to play this for you real quick. Okay, it's kind of a corny thing, but take a look and take a look at this. little strange, but many colleges have come out with programs like this. If you're under a certain level of income, they will pay all your tuition, which is pretty cool. I know Stevens Point has a similar program. La Crosse has come out with something. Lone Star, especially in the competition for your attendance there. So don't think that you can't go any of those places along the way. Okay, that's kind of a corny way to have put it, but there's many opportunities out there for you to go about getting paid to go off to college. Okay, so let's talk about just a refresher on what I was talking about before on different types of aid that's out there.
If you need help paying for college or career school, the Office of Federal Student Aid might be your best option. We offer more than $150 billion to students each year in the form of grants, loans, and work-study funds. And federal student aid can be used to pay for school expenses, such as tuition, room and board, and books and supplies. After you've filled out the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, you'll receive an award letter from each school you list on your FAFSA. This letter explains both the federal and non-federal financial aid options that a school is offering you. So let's talk about federal aid. If you qualify for and receive a federal grant, you won't have to repay the money. That will definitely help offset the cost of school, but you may still need additional help. If so, a federal student loan might be your answer. Remember, a student loan is just like any other loan. It's borrowed money that will have to be repaid with interest. If you plan to take out a loan, consider federal student loans first. Compared to private student loans, federal student loans often have lower fixed interest rates and offer many benefits that you won't find otherwise. For example, when it's time for you to repay your federal student loan, your loan servicer can work with you to find the best repayment plan for your individual needs. Plus, you may be able to adjust your loan payments based on your income. You also may be able to defer your federal loan payments, deduct student loan interest on your taxes, and even consolidate your eligible federal student loans into one loan with one monthly payment. Federal loans can even be forgiven based on certain types of employment. Getting a work-study job is another great option to help pay for school. Eligible undergraduate and graduate students will be able to earn at least minimum wage. If you have questions or need assistance, you can contact the financial aid office at your college or career school or visit studentaid.gov for more information.
I want to make sure you know you have options. So let's talk about that a little bit more. We mentioned that scholarship matching services that Consumer Man mentioned before. When you sit down for your FAFSA, it's very good. They tell you what you need to have, and with that, they did a nice job in the earlier video about saying all the things you're going to need in regard to your income. And the first time you do it, sit down with your parents, and it's going to be a little bonding process. And it's going to take about an hour that very first time. And you're not the only one having to struggle paying for whatever school you're going to go out to. And you can see on the blue numbers, average student debt at graduation. So back in 1993, the average debt was only about $15,000. For now, okay, we're up to about $35,000 is the average student debt in 2015. It's roughly going to be about the same now. The kind of key here is you never want to take out more loans than what your expected job is going to pay for 1 year. So if you're going to make $40,000 a year, starting at whatever job you're going to be, that $35,000 is manageable. Okay, that's the rule of thumb. Whatever, as you do your research on the career that you want, you're going to make $50,000 or $60,000. My son is starting out at his job at $50,000 or almost $60,000, and he has about $23,000 of debt. That's really good. So he kept his borrowing under 1 year's worth of salary. And you can see in the red numbers over here, this red line represents students graduating with loan debt. 73% now have some kind of debt. And I'm surprised how low that is. I would think it's more than anything else. So they were mentioning that last video about that the loan servicer would work with you. So this is based on an average of $33,000. This is kind of some choices you will have when it comes to repaying. And as you learned with Saving Sam, and we learned with Shady Sam and so forth, interest and time can work against you. So there's a standard repayment method in which you'll pay back over 10 years' time. Repayment is 120 months, it's 10 years, and your monthly payments will be $316 each. So you'd pay back on your $33,000 loan roughly $37,932. Okay, That's if you don't have any loan forgiveness programs going on. Those are pretty tough to qualify for, but if you're going into the medical field or law enforcement or teaching, you might have some chance to get some of that loan forgiven. There's what's called graduated, where they start you out with a low payment. So when you're first starting out in your job and you're not making a lot of money, the payments are lower. Now it's attractive at 178 versus 316, but look what happens at the end of the loan. At the end of the 10 years, you're going to pay a lot more. $300-400 more per month. And more importantly, look at this number now, $39,812 compared to the earlier amount. You're paying almost $2,000 more for that service. Okay, you can have what's called the extended fixed. Instead of a 10-year loan, you have now 25-year loan, and boy, that's attractive. It's $170, almost half what your standard payment is. But notice, holy smokes, notice what you're paying back now, $50,000, $51,000. So you just paid another $14,000 of interest because of that time. Remember, shrink the time to save a dime. Or there's the extended graduated, where they start you out with a cheap monthly payment, and then later on you're paying a little bit more. And again, that's very attractive, but notice in the long run, what you totally pay over your 25 years of loans, $55,000. It costs you almost $20,000 to do that version. Okay, so your best course of action is going to be, and then the last one here is this one here, the revised pay as you earn. So they'll take based on whatever you earn, they'll take a percentage of your paycheck. So when you first start out your job, your $42,000 job, they're going to take 10%. And by the time of the end of the, in this case, I think it's 6 years, you're going to be making more money. Hopefully, they're going to take a bigger monthly payment. So that's going to be the cheapest version. That's the most difficult. You're probably just better off going with the standard payment. Okay, it's the easiest. 10 years, you're done. And if it's a $33,000 loan, and you take out $37,932 to pay back, it costs you about $4,000, which is not bad. Okay, so you can see scholarships the single most used resource to pay for college. Many families have had to help out, but 24% of your income is college is borrowed. Okay. So how else can we pay for some of those college expenses and some other concerns with this? Okay, so we want to borrow responsibly, and we want to think about budgeting. So I got 2 little short videos here to share with you.
College or career school is an important step in achieving your future goals, and there are many financial aid options to consider. Did you know that a federal student loan can be a great way to help pay for school? After all, a grant, work-study job, or a scholarship can be a huge help, but these forms of aid may not cover the full cost of attending school. So if you decide to take out a federal student loan, it's important to understand what you are getting and be a responsible borrower. Getting a loan is a big decision. You might be paying your loans back for 10 years or more, so take your time to decide. And remember to accept only the loans that you need, because you'll have to repay them once you're out of school. Here are a few things to keep in mind when deciding how much to borrow. Do some research. Make sure that your school is the right fit for you, both educationally and financially. Location, location, location. The amount of money you need to borrow can depend a lot on where your school is located. In-state schools and community colleges may cost less than out-of-state schools. And finally, getting an idea of your future income is also important when deciding how much to borrow. Starting salaries vary greatly depending on your career path, so it's worth thinking about how the amount of your loan will affect your future finances. After all, your student loan payments should be only a small percentage of your salary after you graduate. Once you've decided on your school and figured out how much money you should borrow, you'll need to sign a promissory note, which is an agreement to repay your loan. Make sure you keep a copy for your records. If you do take out loans, you'll need to keep in touch with your loan servicer when repayment begins. Your loan servicer will make this easy for you by offering web, email, and phone contact options. If you make this investment in your future, being an informed, responsible borrower can pay off in a big way. If you have questions or need more information, please visit studentaid.gov.
And the last part of this is looking at a budget. Okay, part of this class we didn't get a chance to get into more detail is making out budgets and looking at here's a sample of your checkbook And if you look at this checkbook, as I move this out of the way, we start with a balance of $54. And at the end of the month, minus money. We didn't apply this very well. Okay, we had $285 of deposits, a lot more withdrawals, $400 of withdrawals. So you have to kind of look at your own finances and your own spending. Where here could we have cut back on spending? Okay, so I want you to pause this and answer on your sheet for today. What could you do to this person's expenses to make it match up? What would be 2 suggestions that you would have in order to make this budget work? Because obviously it's not going to work. And to finish this up, and to kind of tie in with this whole idea of budgeting, check out this last little short video that I have for you.
More items on your to-do list than hours in the day? If you're in college, you know exactly what we're talking about. But there's one thing you should never be too busy to do, and that is taking time to make a budget. A budget is a financial plan that will help you make smart spending choices today while preparing for tomorrow. Budgeting will help you achieve your goals and prepare you for unexpected bumps in the road. So what goes into making a budget? First, you'll need to track your income and expenses for a particular period of time, such as a month. You can use pen and paper, a spreadsheet, or a budgeting app. After that, making your budget comes down to a simple equation: what you earn minus what you spend. To determine your income, include items such as wages earned at work, allowances from family, and student financial aid such as grants or scholarships. To determine your expenses, include items such as tuition, books, rent, credit card payments, and car payments. Then simply subtract your expenses from your income. Are your earnings greater than your spending? If so, you could choose to invest, buy a new cell phone, or simply save for a rainy day. But what if you spent more than you earned? If that's the case, it's time to cut back on your expenses and balance your budget. You may also need to find a way to increase your income. Remember, everyone's budget is unique and it will fluctuate from month to month. So use a budget and be mindful of your daily expenses. That way you can make sure you're spending your money on things that really matter to you. When you budget, you decide where your money goes instead of wondering where it all went. And there you have it, the basics of a budget. Now it's time to create your own. Go to studentaid.gov/budget to get started.
So in regard to where that brings us here today, okay, back to there. Remember early in this semester when we were at home, we went over budgets and we had the 10-20-70 rule. That's where that plays in. Any money that you're going to make, 70% goes to your living expenses, 20% is saving for short-term things to reward yourself, and 10% is long-term savings and investing. Okay, that's what kind of referring to there. So I know it's kind of a crash course in college expenses and planning for college, but this is to get you kind of wet your toes for the programs next year that counselors will put on, and thinking about paying for things, having those first conversations with your parents. Okay. And you can always come to me as a resource. I'll try to help you out as best as I can. I challenge you now, not only to finish up this little Google sheet, but I've got two Kahoots for you to try. One's kind of a fun one. See if you can pick out the good scholarships versus bad ones. And another one is just kind of a summary of what we've been talking about here today. So have yourself a great day and start thinking ahead about your future life, because it's going to be great. I can sense it. I can feel it. Can you feel it? I can.